hello. Okay. Are we on? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today for Meet Me in the Middle, a multicultural panel discussion. I am Maria Dayrosh. I am a graduate assistant for the Reilly Center for Media and Public Affairs here at the Manship School. And before we get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping notes. So first, please silence your cell phones. Of course, we do encourage all social media engagement. So if you do share, please tag us at LSU Reilly Center, at the Manship School, and at Cultures at LSU. Secondly, we have built-in time at the end of today's panel discussion for our panelists to answer some audience questions. So please hold all of your questions until the end. And now I'd like to introduce Doug Draper, Manship School instructor and faculty advisor for the Bateman team, and I'll turn it over to Doug for the opening remarks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Your support of the LSU's Bateman team is very much appreciated and very valuable. This team's been working very hard for the past 4 months or so to prepare for what we have as a 30-day implementation period to talk about our campaign, which is in support of Cultures, the global multicultural magazine, and in support of that magazine's mission, which is to give voices to people who live in between two or more cultures and they want to be heard and seen, so that's something we're trying to accomplish with our campaign. So we only have 30 days for this, so your participation today has been very helpful for that. The team that's working on this, the Bateman team, goes through a 4-step process of research, planning, implementation, and evaluation. And so right now we're in that implementation period. And so everything we do on the campaign becomes part of that evaluation that we do at the end. So once again, your support here is helpful. Additionally, your support through going to Cultures at LSU and looking at our Instagram posts there on Instagram, and then liking those, following us is very much going to help the team do well in this competition. So I appreciate you being here and appreciate the work our team has done on that. And I'm going to turn it over to our team captain, Chloe Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Draper. Thank you, Mr. Draper, for the introduction. And thank you so much to everyone who has come out today to take the time and support our campaign. I'd like to first introduce the 2024 LSU Bateman team, which includes Adamaris Chavez, Brooke Bordelon, Ethan Acosta, Isis Lartigue, Victoria Boone, and myself. Our team has worked since October to launch our public relations campaign to raise awareness of Cultures magazine. We're excited about competing with other leading universities and demonstrating that LSU students are strategic, creative, and committed to delivering professional results. While multicultural communication doesn't need to be perfect, our research showed that it must be authentic, and this can be achieved by enabling members of the in-between community to share their stories. This inspired our strategy to share the stories of our panel members and encourage others to build an understanding of their cross-cultural perspectives. The phrase "meet me in the middle" was inspired by the cross-cultural experience. The middle represents the place where two cultures identified merge. So while this place looks very different for everyone, we all have one thing in common, and it's that we all want to feel seen. Today, we'll meet in the middle as our panel members share their cross-cultural experiences. So now we'll move forward with our panel discussion, but before we get started with the questions, I'd like to introduce our panel members. We have Dr. Nihar Sripada, Fabiola Leon, Gabe Guillory, Muzna Hamza, Ben Hosford, and Reneen Khalil.
Hi everyone, my name is Adamaris Chavez, but I go by Adam. I'm a senior here at the Manship School. I'm also from New Orleans, and I'm also part of the in-between community. I am Mexican American. My parents immigrated here from Mexico many years ago, but as a result, I grew up here and I have been able to experience both American and my Mexican culture. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit of a process and an experience and a growing curve when it came to coming to terms with my identity. I'm sure a lot of us have probably had a cultural identity crisis at some point, but the way that I was able to overcome that was that I just decided that I cannot leave any part of my identity out. I need to both bring in my American side and my Mexican side, and I need to make the best of both of these experiences. And that's kind of where if you all read my story that I was able to write about in our in-between story series, Meet Me in the Middle, I kind of wrote about that more, and I was able to really just like express myself. I also talked about my experience abroad in Mexico. I was able to study abroad last semester in Mexico City. It was a wonderful experience, but more than anything, it kind of just showed me that even though I was probably not enough for my American side and I was probably not enough for my Mexican side, I was enough for me, and that was okay for me. And now I'm here. I am openly both Mexican and American, and I cannot leave any part of that out. So that being said, that's just kind of how I have been able to bring both of my experiences together moving forward. And it's a learning experience. I know it's a little hard. I know it's a little difficult. But you know, it can be done, and I think it really just shows the resilience that the in-between community has. And so that being said, I would love for the panelists to share kind of their story and where they came from and how they were able to kind of overcome some of these difficult moments.
Oh, anyone can go ahead.
Yeah. We can go in order. If Dr. Chapada, would you like to start off?
Sure. Are you able to hear me, everyone? So thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. So yeah, I think it's hard to top what you said. Pretty similar experiences in many ways. So I grew up in this very big city in southern part of India, and so I was usually used to the city lifestyle. And I did travel, but I never felt like I felt like a tourist whenever I was going to different countries, even. And you know how they say a tourist sees what they what they come to see. A traveler sees what they see, right? So I was more of the tourist. I just went to places to check boxes. But once I started traveling, I went to Australia and lived there for 3 years. I did my master's there. That's when I really felt like, okay, I traveled away from home. And I think that was one of those crisis situations that I was facing during then as, what's my home? So I tried to go back. Right after 5 months I was in Australia, I had a great time, you know, the honeymoon period after 3 months, and then I was feeling homesick. So I went back home, and I felt like, okay, nothing changed here, but everything changed inside me. Now I don't feel at home even in India. What do I do, right? So I had that very, very tricky process in trying to navigate these two different cultures. But with time, though, I realized that there's just a lot more similarities as well among people in different cultures. There are situations where we react differently, sure, but in the end, everybody wants connection. Everybody is looking for friendship, even though that looks different from different cultures. So that enabled me, actually, in a way, being part of different cultures made me much more secure within myself. I openly embraced different cultures, which really helped, I feel. And with time, I could, in a way, spiritualize the whole experience where I feel at home wherever I go, because I'm just, as you said, completely, once we embrace ourselves, then we are open in any culture. And that part comes, it just becomes natural, as I would assume you go to your Mexican family versus the more American side. So I realized myself not even making any conscious effort to behave differently. When I speak a different language, I notice body language changes and all of that. So it became a much more seamless process with time. But there was definitely that period of crisis situation, and where it's like, what's my home? I don't feel at home anywhere. And that was not easy to navigate at the beginning. But yes, I would like to hear everybody else's experience on that.
Hi, my name is Fabiola Leon Gallardo. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I lived 18 years of my life in Puerto Rico. I learned English when I was in the 8th grade. So if y'all don't know, Puerto Rico used to be owned by Spain. And Puerto Rico used to be a land of native people. We were called Tainos. And then the Spaniards brought Africans from Africa to enslave everyone. And that's basically like what every single Puerto Rican is. We're just like a mix of three. So it's very, when people ask me like, oh, what are you? I can't be like, oh, like I'm Spaniard, or oh, I'm native, or I'm African. Like, it's just not, I can't tell you a straight answer. And whenever I moved to the US, it was always the question of, what are you? And it was awkward because I couldn't answer. So I was just like, well, I'm Puerto Rican, and for people who are not very familiar with like our history, it's like they always think like, oh, you're from New York, or like you're from Florida. So I was always like trying to argue with people about what I was, instead of like them trying to understand where I was coming from. So it was very awkward when I moved here, because I was like, I don't know how to explain, and you don't understand where I'm coming from. But navigating through cultures is very much like just trying to be humble enough to understand that other people are not as educated as you, or they don't understand as much as the concept as you, but just being willing to teach them and being open to, hey, this is where I'm coming from, like this is where I came from. I can't give you an answer, but this is what I can tell you. And then just like, it was like a culture shock. Like, cause when I moved here, COVID happened, so I wasn't really immersed on the culture. I was just at home, and I just wanted to be at home. So whenever I went to Puerto Rico, it was like 2 years after, cause after COVID, I went to LSU, and then I began my college life. So it was very odd, and for like the first 2 years, I just wanted to go home. And when I did go home, I didn't want to leave home. But then when I was at home, I wanted to leave because I missed being over here. So it was really weird, but it was a humble situation where it's like, you just need to be grateful for where you came from. Like, that's what I would tell everyone. Like, it's okay to be different. It's okay not to look like the majority. But that's it. That's all I got.
Hey, I'm Gabe. I'm a black gay man in America. But my story for the cultures, like Meet Me in the Middle, is called Meet Me on the Dance Floor, because I am a dancer. I've been dancing since I was in 2nd grade. I've done it all my life. That's my passion. So I kind of battle with the idea of like being a male in a female-dominated sport, and then also like how my confidence in dancing made me more confident of being like coming to terms of who I am as being a gay man. You know, being from the South, it's difficult. You know, I always had this idea of like, you know, being gay is bad, especially back in the day. It's, you know, better now, but like it's still a struggle. But back then when I was little, it was like, you know, it's wrong, it's a sin, you know, blase, blase. So it was hard. You kind of always know, but you push it down and it's scared. But like I felt comfortable at dancing, and like that gave me confidence. And so like I feel like the confidence I exude in dancing is what I also exude in my personal life. And so that helped me become, you know, more comfortable in accepting myself. And I kind of like what Adam was saying was like, I think accepting yourself is the biggest thing. Cause like if you don't love yourself, how are you not gonna love anyone else? Period. Can I get an amen? But also like, if you're so close-minded in your own self that you don't love yourself, you're not gonna be accepted to anyone else's culture. Like you have to be okay with who you are, cause if not, then like, yeah, just very close-minded. So, yeah, been doing dancing all my life. I love it, still do it to this day. It's taught me a lot about myself. And yeah, I have also a big thing for me is like a village. I was luckily like born in a family that like always loved me, supported me, and had my back. So that's also made it easier. You know, some people have it harder, and so it's difficult for them to like accept themselves. So having that village behind me and other people accepting me and pushing me forward and like, you know, teach me to be confident and do what I love, and having that passion has helped me better accept myself. So, yeah.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Muzna, and I grew up in United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi, but my parents are from Pakistan. So while growing up, I was always tagged with this term, third culture kid. And when you are really young, you get really confused with the terminology that, okay, what does that mean? Like, is it a good thing or a bad thing? But as I have, evolved as a person, I feel that being a third culture kid is kind of superpower. This is what I can say, because it has made me so adaptable and it has made me so flexible. When I moved to United States a year ago for my PhD, I won't say that it was easy for me. Even if you will move to another state, it would be hard for you, to adjust to the norms and everything. But with my adaptability, I could say it was little easier for me when I, discussed it with other internationals. So yes, I have always, made this multicultural thing as my superpower. And still, when people ask me that, where are you from? Are you from India or Pakistan? So I say that yes, my parents are from Pakistan. And it's a really complicated question you have just asked me, and the answer is really long. So yes, I would say that yes, my parents are from Pakistan. So they would always ask me that, why would you say that your parents are from Pakistan? So I have to tell you the whole, story that yes, I look like that, but I grew up in, Middle Eastern culture, so have taken so many things from there. And now I am living in United States, and it's again, as she said, I used the word cultural shock, I'm getting, but I would say cultural shock is not a bad thing. It makes you evolve, and it makes you stronger and resilient. This is from my side. Yes.
Okay, so I'm Ben. I'm born and raised London, specifically North London, back in the UK. I came to LSU in 2015. I'm a graduate of the Manship school itself. I graduated in 2019. And then I recently came back at the start of last year to pursue a master's in sport management. Coming to LSU in 2015, I was well traveled up until that point. I traveled a lot of European countries, been to America once or twice, but I'd never lived away from home, away from my parents. There's a lot of similarities between United Kingdom and the United States, but that didn't stop me feeling a little bit out of place. In classes, I wouldn't really talk out, mainly because, especially on the first day of class, you guys probably know this, you all go through introductions, I'd open my mouth and I'd just get a load of people like, what's that? With the accent. I still get that now, but it's a lot more comfortable. But there are some norms and some differences that I wasn't quite used to. But then a lot of my multiculturalism comes from the work and the industry I was in. I worked in esports, which is competitive video gaming, and I worked predominantly as a partnerships coordinator. So we'd be implementing sponsorships for partners, and we would host events in a wide variety of countries. For example, we did an event in Abu Dhabi at the Etihad Center, or the Etihad Arena. And so when implementing things like those sponsorships and those partnerships, we have to be culturally sensitive about making sure that we're not offending anyone, making sure that we're taking norms and cultural identity into account. And so a lot of that is where my multiculturalism comes from. And then moving forward, I'm looking at applying to do a PhD, specifically looking at how esports and competitive video gaming plays a role within higher education, which is why I'm also excited to be on this panel and hear from all of you guys as well about your journey, especially within higher education, and how that can potentially be a sensitive area with students in the future that I may or may not be working with.
Hello, my name is Reneen Khalil. I'm a Palestinian American. For my story, I talked about Meet Me on the Stairs. So I grew up in Palestine, and I also grew up in America partially. And living in between has been definitely a learning experience for me. In both places, I feel like I'm at home, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not. Because, when you're in two different areas, there's people who accept you and there's people who don't. And just growing up, I've been struggling with that, and definitely have had a lot of different experiences due to it, like friends or family. For example, I guess when I'm in Palestine, some of my family that lives there doesn't regard me the same because I'm American, so they view me as more privileged, which I am. And having to deal with that privilege is a struggle, but at the same time, I'm very grateful for it. And it's just about learning how to use my privilege in order to spread awareness and just hopefully speak up and just be a good display of my people. So, I mean, what I've learned being in between these two cultures, well, first of all, I feel sorry for my mom because she has to speak English to me. I'm not fluent in Arabic. And having to have her speak in a whole new language, as well as my father, I feel like I've definitely put more struggle on them than I wish I could have. But at the same time, I'm glad that I speak English because I'm able to talk to all of you guys and just spread my story. So, but yeah, I guess that's basically what I'd say.
Thank you all for sharing. And now we're going to go into the questions. So cultures have said that they embrace in-between identities because everyone should feel like they matter. What other things should people do to make you feel seen and heard? And this is for anyone.
I think the main biggest thing is just like understanding, like, but the idea of like taking the, let me get the word I'm trying to say. Got it. Taking the initiative to understand, because it's one thing to just listen, but to actually understand and like be comprehensive of it and changing your ways from that to me proves a lot that you're, you know, wanting me to be seen and understanding me.
For me, I'd say I just wish people could just take the time to sit down and just listen. Even if we're on two different like thoughts, I just want you to hear my voice because I feel like it's been pushed underneath for so long. Yeah.
I also think being like sympathetic, just because like sometimes I go to the store and not everyone has the same level of English. And I feel like sometimes like when they hear an accent, people are very like reluctant to just like ignore what you just said and just be like, oh, I don't understand you. And instead of being like, okay, let's try to understand each other. I see where you're coming from. I'm trying to communicate, you're trying to communicate, and we can just meet in the middle. And I feel like that's something that everyone could work on.
I want to talk about the initiatives which has been taken by LSU, and it's been a year at LSU. For example, the student government has took this initiative to, you know, add international students to their government, and I'm being part of International Student Affairs Department. I would say that platforms like that would definitely promote diversity and inclusion, and also the platform like this, where we are, like, you know, sharing our experiences with you guys, and things like that would really promote diversity at LSU, and it will make us feel heard and seen.
Yep. I mean, these are all very, very valid suggestions. For me personally, for me, it's like, don't treat me any different than who you are, right? So, I'm the same. We all, I mean, even sitting here, you might all be from the same culture or from different cultures, but we all, even in this panel, you could see that we're all from different backgrounds, but there are also a lot of similarities, and there's also a lot of differences, and it's the same with each and every one of you sitting here. You also have your own culture, your own background, and so on. So, in a way, for me, is don't treat me, if really about seeing and being heard, don't treat me any different. And I'll actually say that LSU has been great with that. I don't feel any different. I just feel pretty at home in a way, and that's how others have treated me, including my students and my colleagues. But that's been my experience, though. But that can vary across people. And I don't even have to be from a different culture to feel that way, so it can happen for anyone. So mostly being inclusive in my head is not treating people different, no matter what they are, which background they come from, what differences they might have, or perceived similarities or perceived differences.
Yeah, and I think just to echo that as well, I'm probably speaking from a place of far more privilege here as well, but just when I came to LSU, first of all, I didn't know anyone. Things like Thanksgivings or Mardi Gras were just breaks by myself, like in my dorm room, right? But I had some great friends that would invite me, they'd integrate me essentially into their family, to the point where I spent, I think, 3 Thanksgivings with the same family. My friend's parents even came to my graduation and brought their family as well. So just things like that of having a support group around you that is essentially just an extended family.
Absolutely. I think that was when I spoke about my experience with Australia and the kind of crisis I went through. The biggest problem was connection. Initially, I felt like I was making a lot of friends. Then I realized that I come from such a different culture that friendships mean different to acquaintances. Right? In India, it's very common to make really strong friendships, deep friendships pretty quickly, whereas here you start with being an acquaintance, right? There's still a certain process. So that was the biggest shock. Oh, the lack of connection was what kind of felt out of place for me. But then with time, I realized that no, everybody does want attention or connection in a way. Everybody is looking to make friendships, but it's just a different process you go through to do this. So in a way, I agree. That's the most important aspect. If everybody's treated the same in the way, we make connections, and then we learn from each other, whatever similarities or differences and so on, and that really helps being part of a group or having friends and connections that help you to integrate in their culture. That really helps.
Thank you all for these answers. We're going to move on to the next question, and this is actually for the audience. So the magazine Cultures has been telling stories and sharing insight from people who identify as multicultural for a decade. That being said, would anyone from the audience like to share their story?
We'll just pass them. Does anyone want to share their story? It can be a stakeholder.
Hi, Sadie Wilkes. I'm from here, from Louisiana, but I'm from a place called Eunice, Louisiana, which is about 2 hours from here, about an hour and a half. My first class here at LSU, I was in an honors class and we were, doing history, I believe, and so we were going through a book. And about 6 weeks in the class, I had somebody lean over and say, "What country are you from exactly?"
Oh, wow.
Because they did not believe that I was from Louisiana because my accent was very strong. But I identify as Cajun, which is a blend of cultures. And so it is something that I find is very unique to us, and did not realize how unique it was until I left Louisiana. So I could talk about all that all day. But Mardi Gras is a big part of our culture, obviously. So that just happened. And so I usually spend a lot of time around Mardi Gras talking about it. I talk about it in my classes, and I lecture a little bit on what Cajun Mardi Gras is versus kind of like what Mardi Gras looks like in different areas, because Mardi Gras is not unique to just us. It is, and Mardi Gras actually is very different all over the world. So, so we're not unique in that we celebrate Mardi Gras, but our celebration is unique to us. So that's about it.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next question. So Cultures reminds us that embracing our identities with pride is a journey of exploration. What would you tell your younger self about navigating between 2 or more cultures? I would personally tell my younger self that everything's gonna be okay, and that it's gonna be a beautiful thing. Once she ends up embracing it, it's gonna be really beautiful. So would y'all like to share?
Should I go first? I agree that I think that's where, even during those times when I felt like I was in a crisis, I didn't know what my identity was, that's what I would say. I think it's one of the best experiences you can have. Like Sadie was saying, how she learned more about Louisiana when she left Louisiana. There's this very popular quote that says, if you want to know about a place, leave the place, right? So because then you have something to compare it to, you just know more once you leave that place, once you live there and left that place, right? So for me, I would say the same thing, is that I'm having one of the best experiences I can have. It's going to really build your personality. It's going to make you more secure within yourself. That was the point you were echoing as well, as to how adaptable and how flexible you become to different situations, to different crises. And I think it's a very, very important life experience in a way. And yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Right.
For me, it would also be you're gonna be confident in yourself. And the term of just being like so okay with yourself that when other people have opinions about you and the things that you like when you merge with other cultures, like the term, oh, you're whitewashed or you're trying to be like this other culture, that's always gonna come up when you start liking other things, because you are moving to a new place, there's other customs, they have, like Mardi Gras. Everyone moved here who doesn't like Mardi Gras. So for 4 years, I've been going to Mardi Gras. I mean 3, because the first year there wasn't Mardi Gras. But just being so confident in yourself that when people make comments about what you like now, you're okay with being like, it's okay for you to have that opinion, but it's something that I like, and I'm okay with me liking that. Yeah.
I think for me it would be, I know it's hard right now, especially, so like, all my life I was raised like going to PWI, so, you know, there was times where I kind of was like, ooh, about to get deep. Hate the idea of being black because I didn't look like everyone else, so it was hard. I hated it because I was like, kind of in a sense don't fit in, it sucks. But then moving to college, I like found people that looked like me, and so I slowly, like, even like in high school, and my family helped with a lot with it too, like, you know, showing us traditions of, you know, the idea of being proud to be black. And I think too, another thing of like being gay too also taught me to be proud in that. So it was 2 things to be proud in, because you are the minority, and so taking a hold of that, because that is your identity and your culture. So I know it's hard, but you know, you'll grow out of that, and you'll be confident in who you are, and you'll be able to look in your mirror and be like, I'm proud of my black gay self. But in the sense of also too, like that even goes into the dance form of like, it was hard sometimes because, let alone being a male in the dance community, but a black male, so it's like, there's no one that looks like me. Like I would go to like dance conventions, things like that, and I would literally stick out like a sore thumb. I mean, let alone being black, but around this time, like middle school, high school, I was like 6 foot, 6'1", so like I'm right there in the middle, like you're not gonna miss me. So I think that has also taught me to like how to like taking that and embracing the difference, because I am the different. I'm not like everyone else. So I think I would tell myself, like, kind of coach myself, like, since you don't see anyone being like you, or you don't see anyone like you, be that role model for others. And I kind of did take that in towards the end of like dance career of like just trying to be inspiration for other like black male dancers, because it is far and few in between, especially in like Houston, like Louisiana area. So like, yeah, just keep doing you, boo, and don't listen to anyone, and like be you. Yeah.
I just want to say, like, being young, you think that being different is actually, you know, is not a good thing, or you know, but when you grow up or evolve as a person, you think that it actually makes you stand out, and you know, makes you different from others in a way that you can, you know, adapt to so many things around you. Just going, you know, back to the same thing, that it makes you just adaptable to so much stuff. And yes, you actually, you know, enjoy, you can relate to so many people, because you can actually enjoy so many different things like festivals around you, and food. Yes, the major thing which has been, you know, the most interesting thing which has been in my life is food, I would say. And people, you know, people would, you know, guess that, okay, her parents are from Pakistan, so her favorite food would be, you know, Pakistani food, but that's not the case. Because you grew up in a very diverse culture, so you are different. I mean, you are totally different from your parents. This is what I can say, and I can tell this to my younger self, that you are not who your parents are, you are who you are. Mm-hmm. So this will help you, you know, evolve in future.
Yeah, I think the main thing would have just been confidence in myself. Throughout undergrad here at LSU, I worked as an intramural referee over at the UREC, over on the soccer fields. I was working there pretty much like 5 hours a night, refereeing games. And that was probably where I was most confident in myself and my ability. I'd be refereeing games, I'd make calls, I'd have students, mainly frat kids, shout at me, telling me I'm wrong, all this. Then I'd start talking to them, and they'd be like, oh, he has an accent. He probably knows what he's talking about. And so I kind of wish that I transferred that confidence over into like academic and just general life and meeting people, because I guess when I was on a soccer field, I had that safety net of this is what I love doing, it's great. But then in the classroom or in like any normal social situation, I was a lot more reserved in my ability just to, communicate with other people, because I always had this thing in the back of my mind of oh, I have an accent, I sound different, that's gonna be like the defining feature in me. But there was a lot more. And so like once I did open up, I started learning a lot more about the people around me and so on. So just the confidence in myself and the ability to, an accent just doesn't define me, though it is kind of a big part.
For me, it'd be just don't hide, because when I was growing up, I used to bring like food to lunch, and then I'd open it up and everybody would go, ew, what is that? So I would just eat it this time. And I guess it'd just be taking ownership of myself and just knowing that people don't define me and what they say about me doesn't define me, and that I'm able to just carve my own path. And also, I tell myself that I definitely do not want to be a chemist. It's okay, chemistry's hard. That's what I tell myself.
Thank y'all for sharing. So culture says that multicultural identities are like a symphony of experiences, with each note representing a different aspect of the cultures that influence us. What would you tell other people who are in between cultures and might struggle to deal with it?
You got it. I think that's just sometimes you just need encouragement. Like, you got it. And like, kind of like what I would tell my younger self. It's like, it is hard, but you'll get past it. Like, and also just embracing it more. Like, it might, seem like you're outsider or you don't fit in, but embrace it, because it does, like you said, makes you different. It makes you stand out. Like, it allows you to adapt to different things, and you can, pick up on stuff easier than other things in life because you've, been different and had to deal with that. So embrace it.
I agree. So before I was at LSU, I was in Springfield, Missouri. So if you might know the demographics. So I used to be part of the local theater group, and I'm the only one looking the way I am, right, in Midwest. And initially, there was that tinge of a feeling, wait, I'm the only one looking different. But when you embrace it, when you are not necessarily ignoring it, but just embrace it, you feel more confident. Mm-hmm. And it also changes the way others respond to you and behave with you. And I think it's a very good advice of embracing yourself. Another advice I suppose I would give is to give other people the grace to make mistakes with you. Mm-hmm. Like I can tell you a funny story. The very first day I was in Australia, I was asked a question by an Australian guy. And in Australia, the culture is in your face. They're much more straightforward with their comments. And the comment that I received was, mate, do you used to go to school on a camel? And it was funny for me. And I answered yes, just for the sake of it, to see where the conversation was going. But then I realized that he wasn't trying to offend me. He just did not know. So even though that hurt me later, after a day, but I realized that I should be able to give people the grace to make mistakes with me, learn. I appreciated the question more than people who assume. Like you were talking about how it's important for people to feel heard and seen, and people take that time to come and speak to you. So I appreciated the effort of asking me that question compared to those who might have assumed something about my culture, right? So definitely I feel the advice that I would give to those people who are in between is to give other people the grace to make mistakes with you and see if they understand. Some people won't, but some of them might if you have that conversation. So having that communication lines open is very important with yourself and with also others. So yes, giving others the grace to make mistakes around you, with you, and mistake it for ignorance rather than actual them trying to offend you. But again, there's a line with that as well.
Yeah, just to go off of that, yeah, just like embrace like all your differences in your culture, just because it could be very hard for you to, like for me, when I go home, I don't speak English. Like that's not something I do. I don't speak English to my friends. It's not something we do. We do speak Spanglish, because that was incorporated into our language. But I don't sit there and speak English all day. And whenever my friends speak English to me, I actually get mad because I'm like, you know, I'm at home, don't speak English to me. But just embracing the differences, just because when I come over here, I do speak English mostly of the time. And it's like turning off two heads. Like, you have the Spanish head and then you have the English head, and it's two different personalities, but you have to be okay with having two different personalities. It's just like a middle ground. Like for me, when I moved over here, it wasn't much difference because in Puerto Rico, sports is a really big thing. Like it's very implemented in our culture, and we're very proudful of all of our athletes. So when I moved over here and I saw that the culture was basically the same, I didn't have a struggle, but I did have to like, it's weird when you know all your athletes at home and then you move over here and you don't know the athletes. So it was just like a learning experience. And it's okay for you not to know everything. You're just learning as you go.
I would like to talk about one trick. I don't know how long I've been using it and when I started using it. It's that just filter out your people. And by people, I don't mean like the people who look like you, people who are, you know, interested in the same things you are, who like diversity, who like to, you know, mingle with people with different cultures, who enjoy a different kind of food, and who like to celebrate different kind of festivals. And like it's been a year in America, and I have met few Americans, like who are my friends, who are so much into different cultures, and they love it, and they make you feel so, you know, confident, and they bring you up. Like they make you feel that you are, like, being different is not a bad thing. Like they make you feel like it's a cool thing, you know, being friends with you, because we want to actually enjoy and see different like cultures and what you are bringing into this friendship. So just filter out your people. This is the trick I've been using since my childhood. Yeah.
And again, I think just to echo a lot of what's been said already is that a lot of people who interact with you, you can use it to educate them on what's going on, right? Example, because again, there's not too much different between the UK and the US, but there are certain things in the past few years that have been landmarks. For example, Brexit. A lot of people over here don't know the ins and outs of what Brexit is, what it means for the world. And so I use that as, if people ask me and who are genuinely interested in it, I will give them a great explanation to the best of my ability, and it then helps them paint a better picture for the rest of the world, and how things work across cultures. So I think that's just a great thing, is that people are interacting, you can use it as a learning opportunity for them and essentially widen their worldview.
For me, I'd say, like, just have patience. You're coming to a place that people aren't used to you and seeing you, so it's important to understand that perspective. And I think it's fine to answer people's questions, like you said, that just, you know the line where it's offensive and where it's like, actually, people don't know things. So I guess that's, I mean, you guys said everything.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much for sharing. I'm going to turn to the audience now. Is there anyone in the audience who has a question for our panelists? Yes.
I kind of have like a fun question, but what is one food from your culture that like you wish every American could try? 'Cause it's like the best thing in the world.
So for me, it's the dosa. I don't know if you've heard of it. So Indian food, usually what comes to mind? naan bread or the tikka masala and so on. There's different types of food. There's something called dosa. It's like a pancake, but it's like a pancake, but it tastes different. I don't know if they make the best dosa in Baton Rouge, but if you can try in some other places. I have found 1 or 2 restaurants that do it. It's not the best, but I think everybody from all cultures will appreciate that dish. So it's DOSA, dosa.
I would highly recommend beef kebabs with garlic naan and Diet Coke. Yeah, perfect combination.
I think for me there are 2. Whenever, like, the first thing I do when I go back home is I get what's called a full English breakfast. It's just like bacon, sausages, baked beans. I know there's a bad rep on baked beans, but they're pretty good. It's just like a massive greasy breakfast on a Saturday morning. There is nothing better. And then also like a Sunday roast. Like every Sunday back home, my dad will cook up a roast dinner. It'll either be like roast beef, roast pork, roast chicken, served with roast potatoes, gravy, vegetables. It's, again, just like a hearty, homely meal that is done every single Sunday.
I love all my food, but I would say mofongo. That's like plantain mashed, and you put garlic and aloe, and you just mayo and ketchup together.
I'm from here, so like there's not much to say, but I think for sure, like for other people, like not necessarily gumbo. I'm sorry, I'm a little different. Gumbo is good, but when you have a mom that cooks it in the heat of the summer, it doesn't hit the same. But so my family, we have a smokehouse in her backyard, so like we make our own boudin. So like I'm a big believer in boudin. My stepdad also makes crackling, so like I'm very deep in like Cajun-based stuff. So like boudin, crackling, like you got to get into that hearty stuff around here for that Cajun stuff. So I think boudin, crackling, that like Cajun-based food for sure.
For me, I'd say just like really authentic shawarma or hummus. Like I'm telling y'all don't know. It's not the same. When you go there, it's just so good. So just authentic, like actually, it's just so good.
I can feed you.
Awesome. Is there anyone else who has a question from the audience? No? Yes, Brooke.
What has been like y'all favorite part of bringing your culture like in new spaces? Like what is like y'all thing that y'all love to share most with people? Like I know we said food and some other experiences, but like your favorite part.
For me personally, it's been what I've realized is as I also teach the multiculturalism class, and I've taught variations of it in previous institutions. For me personally, I think there is no perfect culture, but we can strive to really maintain that balance. Like for example, if you just look at it from a much more general East and West, right? I think both cultures can benefit from, let's say, the practicality of the West and maybe the spirituality of the East, and the individualism of the East and the collectivism collectivism of the East and the individualism of the West. I think combining those two cultures would be really good. I personally noticed that I became a much more well-rounded person when I could actually embrace these different parts of myself from these different cultures. So I think somewhere in a mix of these two cultures, you see people being maintaining their own identity, but also worrying about the collective. There's always one extreme or the other in different cultures, whereas in some of the more Eastern traditions, you see a lot of pressure because of the collectivism in family, collectivism in the workplace, a lot of pressure, and people feel lonely because they don't have an individual voice. In Western cultures, you see that there's just so much freedom to make your own decisions, and it's expected that you pick yourself up no matter what happens to you, that you're responsible for you. Then there is again loneliness and depression because there is no connection and support from other people. So I feel like somewhere in between these two cultures, mixing them and having that balance between individualism and collectivism, we can be a much more well-functioning, healthy, mental health-wise, physical health-wise, a better functioning society.
For me, it's just being able to walk in any room and being like, I'm Puerto Rican. I don't know, it's just something I've always been proud of. Like in Puerto Rico, when you grow up, you're always thought like you need to be proudful of your culture. It's okay to be different. We're all different, just because over there's no sense of what are you. It's more like we're all Puerto Rican at the same time, which it was something that I struggled over here because there's no sense of unity in the United States. So just being prideful of your own self and your culture, and also something that I always like do, even if people don't like it, it's when I give them a kiss on the cheek. Like, this is something very big in my culture, and when I came over here and I did it, they were very confused. But I still do it. Like, my roommate is actually from Gonzales, Louisiana, and when her parents first met me and I did that, they were very confused. But every time I go over there, I still do it, and they're still confused, but they got used to it, and they're like, now they just give me a hug back.
I think for me, kind of going off of like the unity thing, but like for Black culture, we're big in community. So like having that space, I'm a big believer in like having that sense of community for everyone. I always say I had a village growing up, because I really did. There were so many people that were so influential in my life, so having that village and that community around me did so much. So I like to be able to have that for other people, because I know it's like hard, especially like when I came into college. You're really on your own. Like it's crazy. Like you still have your stuff, but this is also the perfect time to start building that village, because like you can still make mistakes and it's not permanent yet. You still have that cushion and stuff to fall back on, but like it's the perfect time to start having and building that community. And then if you know me, I'm always singing and dancing. So like always dancing around. I love to bust out a little line dance every so often when my friends are in different groups when it seems a little boring, to spice things up in the room. So yeah, community and dancing, yeah.
Yeah, get up on the table.
Yeah.
Want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Anyone else? Well, thank y'all so much for sharing. Thank you all so much for participating in our cross-cultural panel discussion. Let's give it up one more time for our panelists. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are incredible. So if everyone could take out their phones, we're gonna scan this QR code. It's gonna bring you to a contact form where you'll be prompted to enter in your first and last name. You don't have to do that if you don't want. But we just really are asking that you put in your LSU email. You will receive a survey for our post-campaign evaluation on March 5th. And then you'll have 3 days to complete this survey, so we ask that you please do it promptly. This, again, is just helping us in supporting our campaign and cultures in LSU, the Manship School, everything. So thank y'all so much. And then also, here's our Instagram handle, cultures@LSU. We'd love for you to give us a follow and just, further show your support for our campaign. So thank you so much for that. Also head to our www.cultures@lsu.com and click the Get Involved tab to indicate your support. So once again, thank you so much for supporting the Bateman team and Cultures at LSU, and go Tigers!
Okay, so to end, I just want to say thank you again to Chloe, Dr. Shripata, Fabiola, Gabe, Muzna, Ben, and Renine for your participation in this panel. And as many of you know, the work of the Reilly Center is to address media and public affairs issues, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion, and enable civic engagement and leadership. I'd like to give a special thanks to the Reilly Center for partnering with the Bateman team and for working with us to make this event a reality. The video recording of this event will be available on the Manship School's YouTube channel, and it will also be accessible via the Reilly Center's website at reillycenter.com. And I want to encourage everyone to follow the Reilly Center on our social media channels to get frequent updates about our events, research, and civic engagement work. And we hope to see you all again at our next event, Authoritarian Journalism Book Talk with Dr. Ruth Moon. It's going to be next Tuesday, February 27th at 3:30 p.m. here in the Holliday Forum of the Journalism Building. And please visit our website and socials for more information on our upcoming events. And with this, I want to end and I want to say thank you again for being here and have a good evening.